We're going to start in about 2 minutes. Did you hear that? Start in about 2 minutes.
Have a 1-minute warning, please. Put the lights in your eyes.
You've got one this way if you need. You're doing it, man. She's doing it.
Where's your camera placement?
Right here. So you just do it. And then somebody. Hey, do you?
Thank you for being here, everybody. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come here. We really appreciate it and hope that you will get something out of this and understand the business world here a little bit more as we talk about some complex issues. I will introduce you now to Bobby Davis, who's Mayor of Star Valley, and he is going to moderate the discussion for us today. So good luck, everybody.
Thank you, Amanda. Yeah, give her a big round of applause. They work hard. Before we get started, let's all stand and let's say the pledge. Please join in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, candidates, for being here. Thank you, audience, for showing up on this possibly rainy night, which we hope we can get some of that rain. Timekeepers are sitting right down front, and they're going to have they'll show you a 30-second time or a 1-minute time left on your 2-minute response, and then you'll show 1 minute. So then we'll say stop. Okay, so please, we've got a lot of people to give their comments and make comments, so let's just make sure we abide by the time. All right? All right. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question. We have 10 questions, and we'll try to get as many questions as we possibly can. We're going to be going from 5:30 to 7, maybe a little bit after, depending on how the candidates are feeling and how the audience is feeling. We ready to get started? All right. Candidates, please, you're addressing the audience tonight. This is not a debate. You're not debating each other. We want to see what you can do and what you say and how you're going to present your forum. All right? Fair enough? Everybody in agreement with that? Thank you very much. All right. And since this is random, I'm going to start right here on this very end right here, Mr. Jim Ferris. Jim, would you give us your 2-minute opening speech, please?
Do you want me to pull this close?
I would pull it up where everybody can hear it. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Jim Ferris, and I was on the council several years ago, and I just feel that there's some direction that the council's going now that needs to be readjusted. The direction needs to be changed. Some cultural issues and things in there that I think and believe need to be changed. And I've been involved before with different community organizations. The New Beginnings was one of them. When we had the Northern Gila County Community Drug Task Force, I was involved with that. And I've been here in Payson about 10 years. And shortly after I moved up, I spent 1 year teaching 5th grade at the Payson Christian School, which I really enjoyed. But it was too time consuming for me, especially a first year teacher. And if any of you have been in teaching, you know that. And when I was in the Valley, I spent 9 years with the First Tee of Phoenix, which is a junior golf program that taught life skills through the game of golf. And that was probably the most enjoyable work experience that I ever had, working with the kids and getting to know all the parents very well. So I just want to get on the council again. I think there's some things that could be changed, need to be changed, and I want to be part of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to the chamber and everyone involved in putting this together. Thank you all for coming out. My name's Scott Nossick. I've been here 32 years. My wife and I started and operated and owned a successful small business, Payson Physical Therapy, for 27 years here. Been very involved in the community in many ways as a coach, a youth coach, helping coordinate the sports medicine program at the high school, countless hours of volunteer work here in town. I often get asked, so the last few years I've been on the town council, currently on the council, and I often get asked, how do you enjoy being on the council? And it's usually asked with an expectation that they'll know the answer, and if I answer, well, who could like it? No, I don't enjoy it. That's what they expect, and if I say yes, what's wrong with you, is what they would expect as well. But as I thought about the question, and I really do enjoy the work of being on the council, and it's work that's not often seen. And when folks hear about the work that goes into every decision that we make, that I make, they come away with an appreciation for the work. And they might not always agree, but they appreciate the work. And I do enjoy work, and I'm ready for working another 4 years. It would be an honor and privilege to serve another 4. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barbara Underwood. I too would like to thank everybody that worked hard to put this together and have us here. I married in 1974. I married my grade school sweetheart, Patrick. We moved to Payson, and we raised 2 daughters. I have 7 grandkids and 1 great-granddaughter. In 1977, we opened our first restaurant here. It was Mario's. I know I got several people here that I know would know that. Then later, we built a new restaurant on 260. It's where actually Tiny's is. We built that restaurant and owned and operated it, and built the building beside it, which has professional. Back then it had all sorts of different, there was commercial, there was stores that sold different things, and it's just changed over the years. Later we did residential development, and then I started volunteering and giving back to this community that I want to be a part of and to see thrive. I'm excited with the direction that this council is going, and I hope that you give me 4 more years to serve this community. Like I said, I am definitely a part of this community, It's what, 47 years I've been here, and this is my home, and I hope that they'll put me to rest here. So thank you. Oh, sorry.
Good evening. I'm Jolene Shinstock, and I currently serve on the town council. I'm happily married, and I have 5 amazing children, which my family is the love of my life. We've lived in Payson for 16 years, and over all those years, I've served the community in a variety of ways, which I hope to expand on at some point during the debate. In preparation for this forum, I revisited the Economic Development Strategic Plan, which is right here. It's about 8 years old, but it has a lot of information contained in the document, which is still relevant and very helpful. So I used that tonight as I prepared my answers for you. I want to take a moment to explain the council climate. When I took office in December of 2020, there were a lot of issues that needed addressed, to include deferred maintenance and a housing crisis, and there just wasn't enough revenue to address them. This particular council did not take a lot of action. Instead, it was more reactive versus proactive. In comparison, this current council has a completely different mindset. We are proactive, and with the help from our town staff, input from the community, and assistance from our KIPCAP committee, we have established a very comprehensive capital improvement project list in which will help support our tourism industry. We've made a lot of difficult decisions in order to increase and stabilize our revenue base so we can start chipping away at these projects. For example, we have set aside $19 million in the 24-25 budget for road maintenance, and we'll be addressing 12 projects that are in various stages. That's progress. This council is following the will of the people, which is outlined in the general plan, the economic. Thank you. I'll be here after the forum if you need to speak with me.
Good evening. I want to welcome everyone here. I appreciate you coming out on what could be a stormy evening. My name's Stephen Otto. I'm a candidate for mayor. I graduated high school in Canyon City, Colorado from the Abbey School. I graduated Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado with a bachelor degree in business administration. I'm a private pilot. I am an EMT. I started my work at a family business, Valley Bag and Chemical, where I handled international currency and international future contract, the purchase of burlap to make potato bags. After leaving there, I did a stint at Marshall Produce. I did a stint at Pepper Potato Farms as general manager and sales manager. And I did a stint at Sanderson Farms, where I realized that my love was potato equipment and automation. So after leaving Sanderson, I founded my own business, Automation Equipment Company. I ran that for 31 years. In the process of running that business, doing automated projects, I wrote over $100 million in contracts, which I either oversaw or completed myself. I've been a Payson resident since 2011, when we bought a repossessed home in Payson, and I am very thankful to be a Payson resident, and I'm looking forward to being your next mayor and serving this town. So thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Chris Higgins, Mayor of Payson, and thank everyone for coming out this evening. Also want to thank the Payson High School for hosting this event. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, a small town of about 2,000. Joined the Air Force, served for 10 years, served at Luke Air Force Base in Desert Storm, spent some time in Bosnia, and then also in Belgium, and traveled all throughout Europe, doing inspections on classified equipment. Came to Payson and worked for a couple different places here in Payson, and then my wife and I, who we have 8 children together, 4 of which live here in Payson, 3 live down in the valley, and 1 is still in school here at Payson High School. We opened our shop, Scoops Ice Cream and Espresso. We had that for 10 years, and then we also vended in the valley at ASU, all the sporting events down there. But during that time with Scoops, worked with a lot of different businesses here in the community, worked with the schools, the town, doing events. And the one thing that I really learned was how important it is to have relationships in the community and how important community is, especially in a small town. Through those times, there were definitely people that didn't see eye to eye with or had disagreements, but in the end, it always comes down to working together to make the community a better place. And that's what really motivated me to serve on the council, to run for council. Wasn't going to run again, but this council is getting too many things done, and we're making a lot of progress. And I want to see that continue for the community, for my children and grandchildren.
I just got a quick question. Are the lights real bright for everybody here? Is there a chance to just turn those lights down a hair for us, please?
I don't think they're.
The audience needs to see you. It's showtime. There you go.
Well, they can see me. I'm just, there you go. There. That is a lot better. You all can see us, right? Thumbs up, down, whatever, all around. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, I was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and you may ask, Charlie Bell, what have you done over the years? I served the mission for my Savior for 2 years in New Mexico. I entered the United States Air Force as a personnel specialist, and my first area of assignment was Kadena Air Force Base, which is known as the Rock. I was discharged in 1986 in Arizona from the service and joined the reserves. I worked in what's called the Consolidated Base Personnel Office. So just think of a big human resource department. So that's what I was involved in, human resources. Think of it, my former spouse and I ran our own residential cleaning business here in Arizona, which expanded into a residential commercial business. Upon our divorce, I went back to school and received a social work degree, and I became a licensed substance abuse counselor. I came here 9 years ago as a social worker, and as a substance abuse counselor, I worked for Southwest Behavioral Health on Arrow Road. Is that 30 seconds? No? Oh, she's flashing me, okay. So I worked for Southwest Behavioral Health as a substance abuse counselor, and also I was involved in drug court. My specialty is I work with those who suffer from mental health issues and substance abuse issues. My current wife, who I've been married to for 28 years, we've been foster parents, raised 11 children, 3 of which we adopted. Like many of you, I sat around the kitchen table to solve patients' problems, and once they passed the ordinance for the emergency clause, it stirred me. Therefore, as a result of that, I believe in your voice, your vote, and it's important to represent you as a community. My name is Charlie Bell, and I am running for town council.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, obviously want to thank everybody for coming out, especially I'm on the chamber board, so on behalf of the chamber, thank you guys. I know you have a lot of stuff you could be doing tonight. My name is Dallin Hawes, running for the 4-year seat for town council. I was not born and raised here, but I was born and raised in Round Valley. I didn't know there was a Payson Round Valley until I moved here, so I grew up in the Eager and Springer Round Valley. Hopefully you don't hold that against me. I also, like Barb, married my high school sweetheart. It was just a few years after Barb got married. Mine was in 2015, so a little bit more recent. But we traveled around, did some construction work for a while, and I talked my wife into going to nursing school with me, and I realized very quickly that you have to be very nice and very patient to be in healthcare. So she finished nursing school, and she's a nurse here in the ER, and I went on to do insurance. So insurance is what brought us to Rim Country. This was about as far south as we wanted to go. We wanted to be in a small town. So Payson's the big city for us because there's more than two stoplights and there's a Walmart. But we've enjoyed living here. We love everything about Rim Country. We have 2 little kids, Walker and Brecken, that keep us on our toes. And as far as volunteer work, try and stay as active as I can in the community. Very involved in the chamber. I volunteer on the Payson Pro Rodeo Committee, on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and Green Valley Water Board of Directors as well. And then recently we just put on a benefit softball tournament for RV&3 that was last weekend, so that was a lot of fun, and try and do as much as we can to stay involved and get people up to Rim Country to spend their money up here. As far as why I'm running for council, I, like a lot of people, just kind of got tired of sitting on the sidelines. I feel like if I'm not willing to step up and put myself out there, I can't really sit back and complain either. So I wanted to make sure that I was involved as I could. I feel like I have a unique opportunity with my business to work with all ages and demographics in the community. So excited to run for town council and excited to be here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Craig Howard. I'm running for town council. There's an awful lot more information that you can find about me on MogionActionCommittee.com. There are pages and pages there, so if you're bored and you have lots of free time, I invite you to go look at that. I'm a relative newcomer to Payson. We moved here about 2 years ago, but I'm not a stranger to it. I've been visiting on the holidays for about the last 30 years with my mother, who retired up here. So a couple of years ago when we had our new family, it was, of course, we moved here to Payson. So we moved up here, love it. It's a great place. We're going to be very happy here. But my main day job is that as a root cause analyst. So when there's a problem, I figure out what went wrong and how you can fix it. And part of that led to my work in town governments as an issues analyst. So as an issues analyst, my job is to deep dive on an issue, present that information to the town manager so he can give it to the city council and they can make a decision. I noticed some things here seemed a little bit odd. Decisions that the council was making just seemed a little bit off. So I did a little bit more research into it, and it is pretty much off. The last time the town and the city and the residents worked together was with the Green Valley Park. That was 20 years ago. Ever since then, they've become more adversarial. The residents don't trust the town, and the town doesn't trust the residents. You can see that in major decisions, major milestones. And so I wanted to try to lend my knowledge of town process and how residents and towns actually do work together successfully to try to get us back on track here as a town so we can actually work together as a team and not fight each other all the time. So again, MogionActionCommittee.com, you can find out lots more about me, and thank you for putting this on.
Hi, my name is Guy Pfister. You might know me as Payson Guy, and been around Payson forever. I graduated here in 1977, married my high school sweetheart. We've been married 45 years. I love Payson. I think it's the greatest place to be. Since then, I became a chef in Chicago, went to a vocational school out there, came back over here, helped my parents run their restaurant for about 15 years. Then I got into commercial refrigeration, and I didn't know which end of the screwdriver to use when I first started, but I figured it out and ended up doing real well with that. After that, I got into some real estate. I've been doing commercial real estate, residential real estate. I've been fairly successful with all that. I've had a really good career, and I've done it out of Payson, Arizona, which is, a lot of people say they can't do that, but it's possible, and there's a lot of things you can do up here if you're focused. So I love Payson. I want to help this community. Watching what's going on in the community as far as the town council goes, and the day they decided to take the rights away of the public, they got my attention. So I decided might as well go ahead and try to run for council and see if I can make a difference, because we need to have the people in charge of this town, not the other way around.
All right, thank you, candidates. You all had your 2 minutes to present yourself. We have 10 random questions. I think you were only sent 9, and I apologize. It was a late question that came in that was supposed to be on here. And that question number 10, when we get to it, I'll read it, make sure everybody understands it, okay? randomly, we started on this end of the table, so I'm gonna start on this end with Mr. Guy Pfister, and I'm gonna read your first question. This is in business-friendly environment. How will you make our town more business-friendly in terms of permitting, regulations, overall ease of doing business? You have 2 minutes to respond.
Which question are we on?
I'm sorry, I'm asking question number 5A. I apologize. Oh, got it. 5A.
So the businesses need a single point of contact. Right now, we have people going into the town saying, I want to build a business of some sort. They're walking in, they're doing a round table with them, which is terrific. They meet all the different department heads and so on, and they give their advice and direction. And then they let them loose, and the town shows up on their doorstep a month, 6 months, a year later, and tells them all the other things they need to get done. We can't run an operation that way. We need to have an operation where a single point of contact, where you go in, you say, this is what we want, you tell us how to do it, and that one person will be responsible with dealing with the town, getting all the facts and figures they need, and handling it for that client. We have to be more proactive and more accommodating, just like in the restaurant business. You look at all these people that come through your door as a guest. So you want to look at them and help them and grab them by the hand and coax them through the entire process so we can get the job done, and these people have a better success rate and feel more comfortable with the town of Payson. That's it.
Thank you, Guy. The next question will be number 5B for Craig. What role do you see the Rim Country Regional Chamber of Commerce play in the town of Payson's economic development now and in the future?
So the role that I would like to see the Chamber of Commerce act is in 2 parts. One, I would like them to present subject matter experts to a business coming to town. So if business wants to come into town, they don't know the local environment, they don't know the local demographics, they don't know the traffic flows, they don't know any of that stuff. I would like the Chamber of Commerce to provide a subject matter expert for them to say, hey, here's a person who's done this in the town. He can tell you all the different ins and outs of the types of permits you need, the types of customers you're going to be seeing, all of that good stuff. So that way the potential business owner knows exactly what they're getting into, and they have someone to help them to hold their hand. The other part of that would be, again, coordinating, as what Guy said, with a single point of contact with the town. So once the person has decided, yes, I want to do business here in Payson, I've got enough information that I know that I will be successful here, and I know what I need to do, now the Chamber of Commerce coordinates with that person, with the town, to say, okay, here's your single point of contact. You can go and work with them. And then after that's done, they continue to handhold the business owner, give him support. They're not just pushing him out on the iceberg and saying, okay, good luck. They communicate with the new business owner and say, hey, it's been 6 months. How's it going? Is there anything that you need? Hey, it's been a year. How's it going? Is there anything that you need? So the new business owner is not just on his own, they're a member of the Payson family. And so those are the 3 things that I would like to see the Chamber of Commerce providing. The subject matter expert, am I going to be successful here and what do I need to do? The liaison with the town to say, okay, here's how I can get my stuff going. And then the ongoing support to know that you're a member of a family, you're not just on your own.
Thank you. And I must apologize. Apparently I missed didn't read the sentence about each candidate will answer the same question. So I apologize. So Mr. Howard, whenever we get through with going back answering the first question from Guy, we'll give you a chance to respond to that same question. All right? Fair enough? All right. So Dallin, let's see. That question is, how will you make our town more business friendly in terms of permitting, regulations, overall ease of doing business?
Perfect, thank you. I think the question kind of outlines the perfect plan. We need to make it business friendly. I think that from a town perspective, we need to be friendly when businesses are coming. I've opened 3 businesses here in town since I got here. Farmers Insurance, High Country Dry Cleaning, and then most recently High Country Business Center. And there's certain regulations or certain permits that as a town entity, you have to follow. You can't jump through every hoop. But I think how we approach businesses and how we overcome those obstacles makes all the difference. And last week I gave the same analogy, and I'll give it again. If my son, which happens very regularly, comes to me and he wants ice cream for breakfast, if I give him a simple no and I sit him down to eat his eggs, I get a very not good response. It's very energetic, and we are instant enemies. But if I sit down again on his level and I explain why he can't have ice cream for breakfast, and I talk to him about the steps that we have to go through to get ice cream later in the day, it's a much different response. And I've seen this personally as I've gone to get permits, or I've gone to do certain development projects or opening the business, that it's not always the easiest thing, but when I get a friendly response back and I actually feel like the town and the town employee wants me to do that, or they want to help me with the process, I'm okay jumping through some of those hoops. I'm okay going through the process. And so we just have to make sure that from a town perspective, we're putting in the right training, and we're putting in the right people to do that. And I think if we're friendly about it, we're going to have a much different response to businesses opening, to developments coming to town, and the overall attitude towards the town and town employees.
All right, Mr. Bill, same question. How will you make our town more business friendly in terms of permitting, regulation, and overall ease of doing business?
Well, first of all, I think that they need to be friendly. I've heard a lot of unfortunate negative information, and I'm just going by a friend of mine. He's a retired airline mechanic. He worked for American Airlines. And he came up here to Payson because there was an airport up here. And he bought some land at the airport. And he wanted to, as a hobby, he wanted to continue working on airplanes that came into the airport. And so he laid out his plans. He went and approached the town, had his plans laid out, and everybody was looking at it, and everybody was, yeah, you know, it looks good, you know, it's all great. And so, you know, he was getting ready to finalize his home, and all of a sudden, an individual said to him, oh, by the way, you can't have your garage facing this way. And so, you know, he had a discussion about his garage, and then they said, and you got to talk to your neighbors about what your plan is. Well, they're all empty lots. There's no neighbors up there. So they impressed upon him he needed to kind of, I guess, through the ordinances, you got to contact these individuals, let them know what's going on. And he said to him, you know what? No, I don't. Sold his land and bought a house. So I think I hear a lot of stories like that, unfortunately. And I think the town just needs to be more friendly. It needs to be kind of a one-stop shop here in Payson, to be led around and not to have all of these things sprung on them. So thanks for your time, Payson. Appreciate you being here.
All right, Mayor Higgins, same question. Number 5A, how will you make our town more business friendly in terms of permitting, regulations, and overall ease of doing business?
Thank you. One of the things that we have already done is approve funding for the revision of the Unified Development Code, or it's referred to as the UDC. And so this was a document that hadn't been revised for over 20 years, and it was way overdue. This revision will address some of the issues that we're experiencing with outdated codes or regulations, because staff has to follow that UDC. Also, one of the things that, and thinking back, that was one of the reasons I ran for council, because of some of the issues I saw small businesses facing, and having a small business, a new small business, I wanted to help maybe make some changes in that area. From when we first opened our business in 2008 to now, I've seen a lot of improvements in the community development. Also, for all the examples, and I think there's more examples of people, businesses that have had great experience and a friendly experience from community development, people that I have talked to, compared to those who have had a bad experience. I think it's important that, to talk to the business owners, get out and talk to business owners, talk to new businesses, see what their experiences have been, instead of just listening to second or third or fourth hand reports of what happened. Another thing is I agree with, and we're looking at a community development liaison position that would walk business owners through that process. What I've seen are the larger businesses that have a lot of experience opening businesses may not need as much hand-holding, but small business owners that don't have that experience, that is very important to them, and that could really make a big difference in their success.
All right, Mr. Otto. How will you make our town more business-friendly in terms of permitting, regulations, and overall ease of doing business?
The evidence that I have, it comes from neighbors, residents I've talked to, and it's anecdotal, but it's compelling. Outfit wanted to put up a flagpole, got a permit, put up a flagpole, and then they were told, no, that doesn't meet code. They had to take it down, get an engineer stamp, put the flagpole back up. If you can't get a flagpole up, how are you going to get a hotel built? It's out of control. The environment has to start with friendly. There's got to be somebody in town hall that wants the business here and wants the business to thrive. Because without the town having a level playing field for the businesses coming in, if they're in the process of picking winners and losers, like this housing development will get this grant, but this housing development won't. This property will go to this other housing development. There's just instance after instance where there's not a level playing field. I went on Bonita the other day, and somebody, years before I moved here, started, looks like an apartment complex, I don't know, big foundation, pipes, bunch of stuff sticking out of the ground. Something happened to them. They left town. 10 years later, there's still a fence around that development and nothing has happened with it. It's an eyesore. We keep talking about all the things that we need to do for development. We need to stop running people off. And that's what I plan to do. I'm going to have a focus on having a level playing field and making sure that people have an atmosphere where they can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shinstock, how would you make our town more business-friendly in terms of permitting, regulations, and overall ease of doing business?
I tend to be a little bit more of a positive person, so I'd like to start off by just mentioning a few of the things that we're doing right. As Chris mentioned, we're updating the UDC, which is extremely important. We also have an economic advisory committee that meets once a week, where all the major stakeholders, utilities, town employees, police and fire, etc., meet. So someone who wants to start a new business can come in, present their plan, and then they can get some recommendations on how to proceed. We also outsourced our engineering support because we had trouble finding a full-time in-house engineer. And then this year, for our 24-25 budget, we're actually adding another permitting position. So we've done that so far. But what can we do? You can always do better. So some of the ideas that I've thought about was developing some sort of a survey, call it an after-action report, whatever you will, but something that provides feedback to the Economic Development Department as well as the town manager and the council. This survey would allow new businesses, current businesses, developers, and even projects that never came to fruition to give us feedback on what did we do well. We need to know that, and then where are our challenges that we can improve. So I think that's really important. You can't make a change if you don't really know. Also, I would really like to also see some sort of a liaison as well. I'm not sure if it's a town or a chamber function, but something that helps connect companies with mentors. I'd like to see that as well. And maybe even going as far as creating some sort of an online support request. So if you're a new business, you're struggling, you just don't know where to go, you can get online and say, hey, I'm having trouble in this area. and then someone who has experience pops on and can help you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Underwood, same question. How will you make our town more business friendly in terms of permitting, regulations, and overall ease of doing business?
Thank you for the question. I really believe our town is business friendly now. Like they said, we have put some things in place to move forward. We are working on a liaison to add to that department. Obviously, the UDC and new codes we're doing. I personally have done business with the community development doing projects. And yes, you go in, you do a round table, like they said, you get police, you get fire, you get water, you get sewer. Everybody is at that table answering your questions. You could ask as many questions as you want. They try to help you with anything you need. And they also, they give you your card. Once you leave, if you have other questions, you go to them. I think that everybody works together in trying to help a new business come in and to walk them through it. The Chamber of Commerce has been a partner in helping to distribute information that helps people that are coming to town. They go to the chamber, coming to town and helping them to, hey, this is where you go. They help us to start the process of getting people excited to come to Payson and to where to go and how to do it. Yes, I realize that there is always room for improvement in everything the town does. And so we are working on that moving forward. And like I said, hopefully with the new codes and the new UDC and a liaison, I'm hoping that we're going to be top notch very soon.
Thank you. Mr. Nozick. How
Thank
will
you.
make our town
As in many arenas in life, anecdotal evidence that people find compelling is often the negative anecdotes and don't often focus on the positives. And there's a lot out there. Yes, absolutely, we can be more business friendly. Personally, my anecdotal evidence, I've opened 2 businesses in town, and starting and running a business is hard, and working with the town was the easy part. And I'd like that to continue for anybody who wants to start a business coming to town. As has been already mentioned, this current council has been keenly aware of this issue and has taken action. Short staff department will sometimes be unfriendly, it happens. And adding a new permit tech to improve the efficiency in permitting and will help becoming more of a one-stop shop. The UDC code, as Mayor Higgins talked about, will be huge. So yes, it starts from the top. This council, I don't think how anyone could look at this council and say we are not business friendly, that we are not digital business friendly, Isaac. So yeah, we will continue. Thank you.
You need a question?
No. Yeah, I believe that if an individual comes to town, I was in banking for a number of years, did commercial banking. And when we heard about someone possibly coming to town, I mean, if they were coming from a suburb of Chicago, we were outside of Chicago, that meant we were in there, we were meeting with them, developing relationships with them, and trying to get them to come to our small town, which was Genoa, Illinois. But, and two, if someone's coming to town and it's their first business that they're ever opening, it'd be nice if someone would work with them to see, have they put together a pro forma, what the business is going to be, what the costs are going to be to get a startup, and kind of, it'd be nice to have someone work with someone that hasn't been through that minefield before. And, you know, our business development, our economic development here, we need to have a culture of, how can we get this done? Problems, hurdles come up, is how can we get it done? And maybe an economic development commission is there, like an industrial development commission that may have a little money. I remember when our microbrewery wanted to come to Bootleg Alley, they had the building inspected. And then afterwards, they find that there were some problems with it. It'd be nice if the town had some way to just say, hey, look, we can maybe help you get through this hurdle. And, it's something that we could advance or help get this done, and you can pay it back over a period of time. But to get that business up and going and would be huge. So I just think we need a good single person contact. We need documentation of what we need, not just a round table, but they need to have the documents needed to know exactly what they have, and then they have constructive knowledge of what they need.
Thank you. Question will go back to Mr. Howard. You read the question for you? 5A, right? 5A, yes, sir.
Thank you. So it's a good question. It's a little bit more nuanced, though. Very few businesses start out as greenfield. Most businesses start with an existing structure. So Carl's Jr. will become Jars. As a business owner who is trying to open a business in an existing structure, you have a lot of challenges. And one of those challenges is the existing structure. There was an article in the Roundup in which there was a developer who had an existing structure. He wanted to make some changes, and the town said, no, actually, you need to level the entire structure. And the developer said, yeah, that's a great idea. Good luck with that. And so this comes back to the adversarial versus cooperative nature. An adversarial town will say, look, this was built 20 years ago. We're not going to grandfather it. You need to flatten the building and bring it up to current codes, especially with this new UBC code coming in. Remember, as Mayor Higgins said, the older code is 20 years old, okay? Lots of things have changed. A cooperative town will say, look, we realize that your building is old. If there's an obvious health and safety issue, you've got knob and tube wiring, okay, you got to replace that. But otherwise, we're going to make it easy for you. We're not going to make you tear down everything. So I would start with that. We're going to cooperate it with you. We're going to make it easy for you to use the existing facility, use the existing infrastructure so that you're successful. You don't have to flatten it and redo everything. Beyond that, as I've said, single point of contact, the liaison, hand-holding as the new business owner goes through the process of opening a business. But again, the town wants to cooperate with you. They don't want to fight with you. And that's something that I've noticed that the town has been sorely lacking for the last 20 years.
All right. The next question will be number 3A. What infrastructure improvements do you believe are necessary to support small business growth? We'll start on this end with Mr. Ferris. And that's number 3A. Mr. Ferris.
3A, okay. Yeah, one thing that's been a high priority is roads. Roads and just the look and the condition of the town, dressing the town, I think would be a big benefit to a business. You're coming up here and you'd like to think that you're bringing a business to a community that appreciates the street front that the businesses are going to have. Utilities, one thing that we do have now is redundant internet service, and that's a big deal for a lot of people, especially, point of sales places, retail. I just think all the major infrastructure things that we need, that they are going to be dependent on and are going to need, we have to be there. And I don't believe that if they come up and they're going to do a project and they say, well, you have to build, or put in the water line down, increase the water line, or you're going to have to do the drainage down here for the next 200 feet past your. There's times where those things are the town's responsibility and not burdening a business that may be trying to get started and get on their feet. So, there's a lot of ways that we can help. Thank you.
Mr. Nasi, do you need a question?
3A, correct?
Yeah, 3A.
Yeah, I appreciate Jim listing a couple of significant achievements of this past council, specifically roads. This council has unprecedented focus on our roads. We've recognized the seriousness of the decades-long issue and have taken significant strides towards addressing it. And I'd encourage everyone to look at the pavement protection plan we've implemented. And as Jim mentioned, the digital infrastructure has greatly improved in the last 4 years, thanks to Digital Payson and the changes that have come. Anyone who has been here long enough to remember the previous website at Town of Payson will appreciate our commitment to IT and digital infrastructure in Payson. As far as, this was an easy question. A few years ago when I was here, it was water. We don't have that infrastructure issue anymore now. Affordable and diverse housing would be the major necessary improvement to support small business growth, in my opinion. Thank you.
Senator Wood.
Well, this is going to be a question most people will probably have the same answers. But yes, we did our pavement project, and I've been actually explaining just this week to people that don't understand like why their road necessarily isn't getting done. But when we did the form to say what roads are good, which ones are bad, which ones just need to be totally tore up. Yes, the town did that, and now they're working, which doesn't make sense to some people, but they work on the good roads to work on them first, to slurry seal, whatever it needs to save them, because those roads are in great shape. And then they'll work on roads that, just need maybe the second stage of whatever. And the roads, like we have some in our neighborhood that are really bad, we will be the last area to get done because those roads are going to need to be totally tore up and redone. So I think that we are moving in the right direction. Some people don't realize what we're doing and how it affects them, but we definitely have put a lot of money into it, and we're working on it. The other thing that I want to give a shout out to is obviously Isaac with Digital Payson. I think by having that, we will attract people, small businesses, big businesses, home businesses, everybody, because that digital Payson that we have, the infrastructure is now a huge priority. So I'm listening to my constituents, and roads were on their top of their list. Thank you.
Ms. Shinstock, do you need to read the question?
Yeah, sorry if this sounds a little redundant, but there are some infrastructure improvements that are in our control. Streets and roads, I think we've gone over that we have a pavement maintenance study that we've completed. We put $19 million in the budget. We've got 12 projects we're working on. Water, of course, we're very proud of the C.C. Cragen water project, so that's not an issue. I have something called technology tools, where I think it's important that we make sure that the Economic Development Department has the tools they need, such as email integration, file sharing, importing and exporting data, and software. Right now, they currently are using something called Placer AI software, which is very important because it tracks the visitors that come into town and where are they going, how long are they staying, what are they buying, so it helps us understand where to market. Gilbert Mesa is one of the big areas we market right now because we know a lot of people come up from that area. The airport is also, it's a little bit overlooked. It has some utility issues, but we definitely need to explore that a little bit more. Also, some things that are out of our control. Broadband, obviously, it's provided by various companies, but we did create Digital Payson, which is our liaison to the stakeholder group. And so that's how we contribute in that effort. And then electricity is APS, and the sewer is Green Valley Water. Thank you.
Mr. Otto?
The infrastructure improvements that I see stem from the basic 4 necessities of having a town. You have to have water, you have to have infrastructure with roads, streets, you have to have fire, you have to have police protection. Any business wanting to come in here has to feel that those basic needs are met. The Craig water system is amazing. It's a shining star in Arizona. The people that are running it for us are doing an outstanding job. I can't pick on them at all. I'm absolutely impressed. But one of the areas in water that we have aging water mains in certain parts of town that were left over when Payson bought the private water system. Those need to be identified and replaced as soon as possible, because a business coming in looking at buying a specific business or location will have no idea whether it's on new water mains or old water mains. The roads, they say they're spending money. We obviously haven't seen it yet. They've been sequestering highway user funds for a decade, not spending them, and now they're taking great pride in saying, well, we're going to spend them all now. Our police department, our fire department, the reports are it's undermanned. Our police department reports are it's undermanned. We need to take steps to get those positions filled. And then once we do our 4 basic needs, then it's up to the business community to tell the town the things that will enhance their success. It's not up to the town to tell business how to be successful. The business owners know how to make money. So that's what I do. Thank you.
Mayor Higgins?
Thank you. This is going to be the focus of a few of my answers, and that is affordable and workforce housing. With the question, how is there small business growth? How can we support that? There can't be growth if there aren't workers. Already talking to a lot of businesses in the community, they're having a problem finding workers. This isn't something the town can do directly, but there are things that we have done to really assist in bringing affordable and workforce housing to the community. One of the things is unanimously passing an emergency affordable and workforce housing ordinance 3377, where we're going to help and assist developers with improvements, street improvements, sidewalk drainage, so that can help bring affordable and workforce housing. Also, the purchase of the land south of Main Street that we're leasing to Green Valley Apartments, the Payson Regional Housing Development, that allowed them to be awarded a grant for 40 more apartments that are affordable housing. Without housing, we can talk about all of these other things that we want to do, that we would like to do, but if there isn't a place for our workforce to live, then we have an issue. And it was stated in the last forum, well, they can live outside the community. No other places outside of Payson really has the infrastructure or the ability to house a workforce. So we have to do everything we can to be able to bring that affordable and workforce housing to Payson. Also, Digital Payson, wanted to recognize them. It was already done, but internet is now a utility, and it's a necessary utility for businesses to be able to be successful and to grow. So everything that we have done in bringing high-speed, reliable internet to Payson has also helped and will help small businesses grow.
Mr. Bill?
Okay, thank you. I think public safety fits into infrastructure. Businesses, when they come up here to town, they need to feel safe in the community, especially when it comes to fire. So my focus is on the infrastructure, complete Green Valley Parkway. Not only complete Green Valley Parkway and the other parkways, roadways, think of Payson as a spoke, basically. and it has all of these different little tributary roads going around. A well-designed network of roads along with clear signage can reduce congestion. So we need to focus on fixing our roads. We need to look at our landscaping. We need to buoy that up. We need to take care of the weeds that are growing out of the middle of the road, side of the road, on the sidewalks, over along the businesses. There's a dead tree sitting down there by Payson Town Hall. That dead tree should be removed. So we need to look at, that's part of our infrastructure in that particular area. We need to hold individuals accountable on their landscaping. We need to think about alternative. It seems to be very expensive to get roads done. Cottonwood invested in machines. They have their road crews utilizing their own machines, doing their own chip sealing. The county is also in the process of doing that. So I think we need to think outside of the box. We need to think public safety, infrastructure, making sure our fire police are taken care of. Thanks. Have a good night.
Perfect, thank you. Obviously, we've all kind of said similar stuff, but I think I want to point out that there's a lot of things that the town is actively doing, and not everything is placed on the town as far as small business growth. And as a small business owner, I have to do my part to be able to make sure I'm successful. For example, the project that Mr. Otto mentioned on Bonita, I actually was just at lunch with the real estate agent that's selling it, and that was one of the questions I asked him. Hey, what happened to that? We need more workforce housing. Our small businesses need more employees, that type of thing. And that came to a stop in 2008. We all know what happened in 2008, and the developer ran out of money. So that wasn't the town's fault. That was something outside of the town's control. But outside of housing, I think that's a huge one that we can do, or that we can work on. Drainage, roads, internet, we've been working actively trying to improve all those things. But something that I think gets overlooked a lot, that we just see as a positive thing of living here, is the amenities that Payson has to offer. For example, the softball tournament that we put on this weekend, we were able to use the parks. We had the softball fields. We had several hundred people coming up from out of town spending money here. A lot of them, as I was looking on Facebook, were posting pictures. They were at the restaurants. They were getting Airbnbs. They were in the hotels. All of those things, getting more people into Payson with the amenities that Payson has to offer and that we can improve on, are going to help our small business owners, because people will be in businesses spending money. So the rodeo grounds is a huge building, a huge infrastructure that I think we need to improve on to attract more people here. The parks and the drainage, so that we can make building improvements, restrooms, water, things like that. And then obviously getting a pool up here in a rec center. I think that's something that is going to drive a lot of people up here from the surrounding areas, because we are, like Charlie said, we're a spoke. People come up to Pine, Strawberry, Christopher Creek, Young, those areas. We need even if it's just one day out of the weekend that they're up there, if we can pull them into Payson to spend money in our small businesses, it's going to be a win.
So it's a good question. A small business does not exist in a vacuum. It needs nourishment. It needs outside influences. As long as the town is providing that, then it'll thrive. If the town doesn't provide it, it won't. One example of that is the tax rate. So we had a tax rate increase a few months ago. I've heard from a couple of businesses, when do we start charging for that? Should we start collecting the taxes today? Should we start collecting the taxes in July? When do we do that? They have no clue, absolutely none. So the town should do a better business of helping businesses exist outside of the vacuum. Another item is the town should help the business to advertise. Now, I'm not saying the town buys advertising space on a billboard, but currently if a new business opens, it's word of mouth as to where they are or where they're coming from. We have a new dry cleaning facility. We didn't know about that. We have a Best of Rim magazine. We should have a Rest of Rim just on the town website or something like that, so that other people or other residents can know that, hey, we do have a small business here and here's what they offer. So again, the business can't exist in a vacuum. It needs good, actionable information from the town to say, hey, your tax rate changed. You need to go do this. There's a change in the water restrictions. You need to do this. They need information. And they also need support from the town in terms of letting the residents know that, hey, there's a new dry cleaning place. Come and visit it. There's a new sit-down restaurant. You should go and visit it. they can't exist inside of a vacuum. And so I think that's an improvement that they really need to do, that we really need to do as residents to help the small businesses to survive.
Like it was said before, the roads are critical. That's going to give us a clean appearance, and make people want to move into this new, clean community. So that's number one. We need to have that. Rudy Giuliani did a great job when he fixed up New York and he fixed the windows and he got the crime rates down. He did that by changing the appearance of the city. We have to do that here too. We've got to make this look like we are in charge of the city and it's not falling apart. As far as our water department and sanitation district, both of those guys have done an amazing job. The Craiging water and sanitation district have just done an incredible job with what they have. But our town, the biggest asset we have is the roads, and we've got to fix them.
All right. The next question is from 5, business-friendly environment. If elected, how would you talk to a new business about the recent 1% tax increase? We'll start with Mr. Otto, work this way, and then finish up back this way. We're going to start with Mr. Otto, come this way, and we'll finish back with Harry Higgins.
I see no reason to differentiate the 1% sales tax from the rest of the sales tax. It should be a discussion with the business on what the tax environment is in Payson. How, why, what about the 1% is irrelevant to a new business coming in. I would talk to them about the permitting requirements, other things that they should have to deal with, but the only thing that really matters is total sales tax. And there's just no reason to segment it out. I recently did a motorcycle trip down south, went through Benson, Tombstone, Bisbee. They have sales tax rates similar to Payson, Arizona. And when you go in there, it's obvious that certain businesses can survive in a high sales tax environment and certain businesses cannot survive. In Bisbee, Arizona, you can't buy a couch. There's no furniture business. Nobody's selling businesses or selling sofas or chairs. You have to go over to Sierra Vista. In Benson, there was an outfit advertising a car lot, selling Dodge trucks. Well, they have a dealership there, but they don't have any trucks there. You have to go over to Sierra Vista. Sierra Vista has a 1.95% town sales tax. Benson has a 3.5% town sales tax. So the kind of businesses that can survive in a high sales tax environment limits the people that you can try to attract to Payson. You're not going to get a car dealership up here. You're not going to get an implement dealer. There's a reason that they are down in Rye, because they can't afford the pressure on their business that a high sales tax inflicts when you're selling $30,000 and $40,000 piece of equipment. Thank you.
Ms. Shinstock.
So we have a very comprehensive and extensive capital improvement project list. This project list was built upon some of the needs identified in the general plan, community surveys, community workshops. And after developing the plan, we created what we called the KIPCAP committee, which was made up of 14 individuals throughout the community. And we asked them to look at all of the projects and to help us prioritize them based on community feedback. And they were kind of our liaison to the community. So they were going to reach out, do some discussions, and then come back and bring us back a priority list, as well as a recommendation for how to fund it. There are 2 ways basically to fund this, these projects. One is the excise tax, which is paid by residents and visitors, or you can do a general bond, which is paid basically by Payson homeowners. So the KIPCAP committee recommended that the council use an excise tax to fund this project, and then the council took that recommendation and did it, because the ultimate goal is to bring these amenities to our town for our residents to enjoy, but also to increase tourism, which benefits our businesses and increases our revenue base. Thank you.
Thank you. The 1% sales tax is very exciting because it finally allows us to be able to improve the quality of life of our residents and increase the revenue for businesses. For the first time in, I don't know, probably 20 years, we have a funding tool to build, improve, and then maintain things. For years, councils would always put off funding for projects like that. And obviously, employees are your number one priority, but they wouldn't put the money in to do the maintenance and to improve stuff. Fixing the roads, improving the trail system, improving and cover the event center to allow year-round diverse events that will increase businesses. We want to build the indoor pool and community center to accommodate all ages of residents and non-residents. This gives the council the means to fulfill some of the wishes the residents voted on, or had all these forums. Bob Hirschberger did several forums and asked people, what were your priorities? What do you want to see in our town? And they gave us the list of all those. And by having this 1% sales tax, we, the people in Payson, are only paying a share. Most of it, I will guess that 60% of that sales tax will be paid by out-of-town residents. And even Star Valley, Pine Strawberry, all these community Oxbow, they come to Payson and they will be helping to do this. So I liked it much better than doing a property tax that would just do homeowners.
Thank you. I've had this conversation many times, not only with new business owners, current business owners, residents, and the conversation always goes to what are we going to get for the 1% increase? And we talk about the investment that it represents. And without fail, every time the folks are on board with the investment and with and when we talk about what the actual number means to their business, $1 on 100, 14 cents on a $14 pizza pie. They're on board, but it always ends with, as long as you keep your eye on the ball and we get those investments. And I absolutely agree with that. And I see it as my job to keep my eye on the ball, to keep the council's eye on the ball. As a former professional baseball player and business owner of 27 years, keeping my eye on the ball is in my skill set.
Yes, I've been out. I know Charlie has too, been knocking on a lot of doors. I find a lot of people are not happy with the 1% increase in sales tax. And, oh yeah, they want this here, we want this, but after a while, you can go enjoy those amenities, but coming back home, you're not gonna be able to stop at the store and buy your food that you need to eat. There needs to be some responsibility on that. And two, the larger sales tax, it hits the big, large ticket item retailers big time. And I'm not opposed to making some kind of exceptions on some of those, such as a car dealership, to be able to sell cars in this environment. The town also, we can get this 1% sales tax that justifies going out and getting high-priced bonds. Well, we're limited as a town as to what our debt ceiling is also. Look what, we got other states too that have increased taxes substantially. Look at the number of people that leave New York, California, Illinois. Why? Because they're just overtaxed. There gets to be a point where, it can be too much. And I think that we need to look at some of the projects that we need doing some maybe private partnerships or sponsorships to cover some of those expenses. So, the other thing is that I'm looking at maybe at the end of this year or something, there could be a big economic turndown. And it's been a while. We're faced with that possibility happening. I don't want to put Payson's economic security, out on the chopping block, their neck out there, and then not be, have it cut off and not be able to service our debt that we incurred. Thank you.
I think what we need to do is. Can you hear me? Okay. Anyway, the 1% is really hard to get over. We need to be careful with our money. It was just 10 years ago or over 10 years ago that we were furloughing employees. We overspent and we ended up being in a situation where we couldn't keep the employees on staff full time and we had to furlough them. We have to take care of simple things, and we got to expect downturns, and we got to be prepared for those as well, like Jim said. It's great. All these wonderful shiny toys are fantastic, but we really need to also be conservative, and instead of doing all of them at one time, maybe just get one done and do the next one and so on. Right now, we are trusting the council that's been in there for 10 years that's telling us that we're going to do all kinds of things now, and they haven't done it. So if you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. We shouldn't keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. We need to change things.
So the question is very specific. How would you talk to a new business about the 1% sales tax increase? I work as an issues analyst. My job is to lay it out for someone without any kind of sugarcoating or anything like that. So I would say, first of all, on the plus side, you're going to have a green field because all your competition is going to go out of business. They're toast. As a more practical matter, unless you have a high volume business that has a unique product, you are doomed. That's just all there is to it. If you want to open jars, you're in great shape. It's a high volume product. It's a unique product. You're going to be able to have enough volume there that you can make up the 1% increase on sales taxes that your competitors down in the valley aren't going to be able to do. If you have a business that has got a low volume product, like Chapman, you're doomed. And so my advice to a new business looking at the 1% tax increase is to say, unless your business model is high volume, unique, I would look elsewhere because you're not going to make it here. You're just throwing money away.
So I actually had almost this exact conversation, and I've had several of them, but I was at I believe it was the Splash Pad grand opening. I had 3 business owners, and we were sitting around talking about some of the projects the town's kind of doing and bouncing ideas off each other. And I asked the question, what do you guys think about the 1% tax increase? And the 3 of them that I was sitting with, all of them had the exact same answer, that they were okay with it because it was benefiting the town. It was benefiting them. And they understood that the money that we are trying to bond for, that the council is trying to bond for, it has to be spent on the specific projects that the bond outlays, such as the infrastructure improvements that we've all talked about and several other things. And so as we make those improvements, as the town makes those improvements, it's going to attract more people. And it's going to make it easier for people to stay here. It's going to be easier for us to get some of these affordable and workforce housing projects done. And it's going to keep people here. And so at the end of the day, if business owners understand that the tax increase is directly benefiting them and their community, yes, it is increasing their taxes. Yes, it is going to make a slight maybe burden when they're checking out the grocery store. But when you know it's going directly back into your community, into your grandkids' facilities, into your facilities, that type of thing, there's a different perspective. And you can either look at, the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. At the end of the day, we all listed off a lot of infrastructure improvements that need to be made, and we have to pay for them somehow. And I agree that the tax increase is the better way rather than the property tax increase, because we're letting other people from out of town, just like this weekend and many other weekends, people coming up pay for those projects instead of putting it all on the citizens.
I make the timekeeper sweat it out a little bit. You know, I believe in stability and growth. It's a very essential aspect of a small town. It needs to grow, needs to be stable. But you know what? This is where we part ways. This is one of the reasons I'm running. I feel the town did a disservice to the people, to you, to the residents of Payson. How did they do that disservice? They passed an ordinance to incorporate the emergency clause. The disservice is that they took away from you the right to vote on what you really want. All of those ideas are great. I sat on the CIPCAC committee. I was given those 10 areas to prioritize. But I didn't sit on the CIPCAC committee to bypass you, the residents. I feel you are important, that you make a decision as to what is important. Is it important to have a $30 million aquatic rec center? Or is it more important to revitalize Rumsey Park? Is it important to have a $50 million bond that we're going to be obligated to for the next 30 years? I don't know. How do you feel about that? Those are questions you got to ask. You see, the town gift wrap, they put a bow on it, and they passed it without your vote, without your voice. To me, that is a disservice to bypass a community of 16,000 people.
Could you read the question? Because
Sure.
just listening to these answers, not sure what the question is.
Number 5B, right? D, excuse me. If elected, how would you talk to a new business about the recent 1% tax increase?
Thank you for clarifying that. I haven't talked to any new businesses about this 1% tax increase, but I've had discussions with many businesses, current business owners, and they've all been very positive. And the reason why is because they understand what this investment will do. They understand that a lot of these amenities, they're not shiny new toys, but amenities for families and their children is what's going to attract the workforce that we need here and the businesses need here. Again, going back to housing, affordable and workforce housing, it's very important, but you also need amenities for the families and the children, or else they're not going to come here to work in our businesses. So again, business owners understand the investments back into the community that are being made, and this will also help bring more visitors to Payson. So improving the event center, covering that, doing everything that has been talked about for over 20 years on the event center, it not only will allow us to do more events, but it's going to make our current events much better. The Payson Pro Rodeo, world's oldest continuous rodeo, College Rodeo, Northern Gila County Fair, also the American Gulch, another attraction for visitors. So again, the more we invest in our community, the better the businesses will do. That's the bottom line. Also, just for clarification, the council hasn't been in place for 10 years. I've been on council for 9.5, but the council has not been in place for 10 years. So accurate information, there's sometimes a problem getting it. So just wanted to clarify.
Amanda, we're close to 7 o'clock. Do we want to close it down, or do we want to go for another question? Candidates, how do you feel? You ready for another 20 minutes for another question? Is everybody all right with that? Very good. All right, let's see. And the last question. How would you address potential concerns from residents who may oppose workforce housing developments in their neighborhoods? That's number 8A. How would you address potential concerns from residents who may oppose workforce housing development in their neighborhoods? We'll start with Mr. Pfister at the end and bring it all the way down here.
So I would be one of those that would oppose having an apartment building put next to my house. We have to look at other sources of land trades with the Forest Service and so on. There's also developments around the community. The River Canyon Ranch, we have the Pugel property over on Tyler Parkway. We've got other potential properties we can work with, but to go into a community or do anything with the community with high density right next door to single family homes, for example, would be a problem for me because I don't think that's the right thing to do. And you didn't buy a house in this town to be next to a workforce housing complex. So that's my stand on that.
I would agree with Mr. Pfister. When people buy houses here, on the one hand, there is an expectation that sometimes things will change. But on the other hand, there is an expectation that this is a town that you moved into. No one wants to live in Prescott version 2. We have a general plan, and so residents should look at the general plan and say, oh, look, this is zoned for multifamily apartments, but you shouldn't do spot zoning. And say, oh, look, we're going to go ahead and rezone this and change the general plan. Rezoning does not work. We've tried it here in the town for the last 20 years. There's a development, as Mr. Pfister mentioned, at the end of Doll Baby Ranch Road, 740 lots just waiting for houses. Where are they? You have manzanita shrubs. We have a 140-unit lot right at the corner of Tyler and 87, right across from the community forum by Pugel, just waiting for some housing. Nothing but gullies. Right next to it, there's the old Iron Line development, which was actually a multi-use development, which had apartments and shops. It's got bigger manzanita bushes than at the end of Doll Baby Dance Road. Zoning doesn't work. You have to find a way that the developers can actually be successful. And if you just alienate the residents saying, oh, we're going to drop a multifamily apartment building, it just alienates people. There was a multifamily apartment building proposed at the corner of Tyler and 260 a couple of years ago. Grew huge crowds at the Nazarene. Everyone opposed it. That's happened every single year for the last 10 years. We cannot alienate our residents for a strategy that just simply doesn't work. If zoning would work, we'd have 740 houses at the end of Doll Baby Ranch Road. So I would agree with Mr. Pfister. We got to listen to the residents who bought a place here because they wanted to live here, not participate in Prescott version 2.
Perfect. So I had this exact conversation with a customer of mine, called me with concerns about 2 potential workforce housing developments that are going in. And I think it's important that we clarify, a lot of times we lump them together, affordable housing and workforce housing. Affordable housing is government subsidized. There's a certain income threshold that you can't make over a certain amount of money to live in that affordable housing. And most of the time that would be in apartment complexes and things like that. Workforce housing is not necessarily 3 or 4 story apartment complexes. A lot of times, I know for myself, I'm workforce and I live in a house, and it's a $300,000 to $400,000 house, something that most people that live in that $60,000 to maybe $100,000 threshold income can afford and live in. So with this one, as far as workforce housing, we have to make sure that it makes sense. And the concerns that this individual brought to me were specifically about concerns with the golf course developments that are going in, and potential tiny homes or townhouses or single family homes. And they were under the impression that that was the same developer and same project that was going in behind Walmart. And that project was approved back in 2014 and just came before planning and zoning for some changes to change it from single family homes to manufactured homes. And so simply addressing the concerns with that resident and kind of explain the difference, that it wasn't necessarily a rezoning that was going on, and that one of these projects was already approved, and they thought it was a completely new project. At the end of the conversation, they understood it, and we were able to have a good conversation. But it's a tough issue because at the end of the day, we only have so much land here in Payson, and so we have to look at the in my opinion, some of the cheaper, flatter land that's going to be cheapest for the developers to come in and do. But we obviously don't want to put an apartment complex next to Chaparral Pines. That's not going to make sense. But we have to look at the surrounding areas and make sure it makes sense. And I also think we should put some pressure on the county because they've got, surrounding land. The Forest Service, it's hard to get that land swap, but the county, I think, is something we can really work on.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't, which one are we focused on?
Number 8A. And
8A?
yes, how would you address potential concerns from residents who may oppose workforce housing development in their neighborhoods?
That's the dilemma that we face. We face that as a nation. It's not a Payson issue. It's a state issue. It's a county issue. It's a town issue. As far as I'm concerned, we need to do some collaboration. We need to collaborate with the county supervisors. Is there any land that can be freed up? We need to get with Mayor Davis over there in Star Valley. How can he help us out? You see, Payson is a rural hub. We affect Pine, Strawberry, Star Valley, Christopher Creek, Tonto Village, Oxbow, Round Valley, Rye, Tonto Basin down there. We need to collaborate with all of these communities because each one of these communities, they need nurses, they need plumbers, they need electricians. And for everybody to rely on us, how are we going to solve that problem when the country can't even solve it? What we do is we come together as a people, as a community. We come together with all of those surrounding communities. We collaborate, we talk, we investigate, we find out where have people been successful in this country right now to provide workforce housing. Folks, it's an issue. And it's going to be talked about over and over and over. And you know what? I don't have an answer. I can't answer that question because it's too deep. We're a microcosm of the nation of Washington, D.C. We're affected by inflation. We're affected by prices that it costs to build homes, modular, whatever. People, let's get together, Mayor. Let's talk about this stuff.
Thank you. I know we have had a meeting with Gila County. They have 19 acres north of the college, the community college, and there has been discussion with them. They said they would like to get that land to a developer or somebody that could utilize the property. The issue you'll have is homeowners over there probably would not want affordable or workforce housing close to them. That's something that we're experiencing. Wednesday night's council meeting, we'll have a second public hearing on the Timber Ridge development, which is to the north and behind Walmart. Part of a neighborhood that borders that is R16MH, manufactured homes. They're looking at putting manufactured homes in this development. But there have been a couple people that have come to the meeting that said, no, they have a neighborhood, they live in a neighborhood close to that borders it, and they don't want the manufactured homes next to their property, next to their lots. So this is an issue that we face as council, and we have to look at different options, collaborations, working with developers. Land that was purchased off of Main Street, we're looking at some commercial property or commercial development with apartments on top. That's something that other communities utilize and works very well. But we have to do something. We have to do something, and it would be very hard to rely on communities outside of Payson, again, because of the lack of infrastructure. Any apartment complex homes that are put in, you have to put in a sewer system, water, and that's very costly. So again, Payson is where this is going to happen.
being a property owner in Payson, I can only imagine the issues that property owners are going to have with workforce housing coming in. I don't know who set the codes in Payson and why they did it the way they did, but it's unbelievable. I recently bought a property that's zoned R10 MH, so it can have 10 mobile homes per acre. It has no street access. How can you have 10 mobile homes with no street? Payson ordinances say with only an easement access, you can only have one house, period. The planning and zoning in this town is haphazard. It needs to be taken apart, looked at it, and get the inconsistencies out. On that piece of property I bought, it was a jungle. I serve on the RIM Wildfire Awareness Team, and I'm not gonna live on a property that was that unsafe. It needed to be firewized. I hired a crew because the grant was 3 years away from fruition. The crew went in there. My neighbors turned me in for violating the tree ordinance. I look at the tree ordinance, and sure enough, the tree ordinance and the firewise ordinance are in conflict. So addressing concerns from residents on bringing in low-income housing or workforce housing, I can only imagine every instance is going to have a separate set of circumstances because Payson is haphazard at best, and I love it here.
Well, being on the council for 3.5 years, we've seen lots of rezoning requests, of course, over those years. And so how do I address residents who are concerned? The first thing that's really important is you have to listen to their concerns and validate them. So even personally, if I maybe don't understand where they're coming from, maybe I personally don't agree with it, it doesn't matter. It's how they feel, you acknowledge it. That's the biggest thing, you acknowledge, I understand how you feel. After that, I like to try to evaluate for compromise. I really do. For example, this new Timber Ridge manufacturer overlay that's coming up on Wednesday. One of the residents, they really want the name changed because Timber Ridge is the little section right across from the dog park, and they just want the manufacturer section to have a different name. And it seemed like such a reasonable request, and I've been trying to figure out how we can make that happen. But there's some code issues and et cetera, so it can't happen, but I always look for compromise. So no one ever wants to lose-lose. You want to create a win-win situation. After you've evaluated everything, you have to make your council decision based on the general plan plus the community needs. And right now, we are in a severe housing crisis, workforce housing crisis, and there are times that a rezoning effort makes sense. I've yet to meet an appraiser or realtor who says manufactured homes devalue property. The ones I've talked to don't have a problem with it. And then I'd like to go back to real quickly, we have a pad that we approved across from Ponderosa, which has different levels of housing throughout the development. If you have a council that's not development friendly, those kind of projects will not come to Payson. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I was on council, I did serve on planning and zoning and the design review board. And I will say that we always consider what the residents' concerns were. Many times developers would compromise to appease the neighbors. Valid concerns should always be discussed in hoping to find solutions beneficial to all parties. I have seen lots of give and take and end up with great neighborhoods. We have development, there's a 90 acres adjacent to our property. And yes, we've always wondered, there's been projects that have come forward and the community has gone against it. And these are reasonable, they were reasonable. They had a mixture of half acres and condos, not condos, what are they called? Duplexes and bigger homes on bigger lots. And they tried to use that 90 acres and to make it which would be best for the community, working on high-end homes, medium homes, affordable homes, our workforce homes, not affordable homes. And yet they constantly ended up with complaints over and over. And they finally, I think, sold it, is what I heard recently. But I think that as a community, we cannot have just all big lots or people saying, I don't want this behind me. We're going to be buttoned up to it. And if somebody put a 10,000 square foot lot behind me and had that, I would be fine with it. You know, you got to have a variety of houses in all areas, I feel. So thank you.
So in my 3.5 years on council, there have been zoning requests that we've rejected, zoning requests, rezoning that we've accepted, and it's part of the work that I spoke of in my opening statement that you don't always see. It is very important to listen to residents, to meet with them face to face and hear their concerns. And I agree with Jolynn in just in every instance, there is a win-win situation, a compromise to be found. And when it makes sense, rezoning can work. There are projects here in town that have been rezoned and they're successful. And so a blanket statement like rezoning doesn't work, I don't agree with. If it makes sense and there is compromise with the neighbors, it absolutely can work. And it has been my focus whenever these things come up to find that common ground in any new development.
Yeah, I know when I moved into Payson, I wanted to close the city gates behind me and say no more. I want a small town. I want it just the way it is. But every town needs to have some kind of moderate growth or it dies. And, you know, the workforce housing, you're not always going to have people come in that are in the workforce that have the down payment and certain, you know, maybe credit, whatever it is, to buy a home. So you are going to need higher density apartments, complexes to take care of the needs of those people. You know, I always this NIMBY, not in my backyard, but you know, if I'm coming up here and I'm buying and constructing a $1.2 million home on a 5-acre lot and everything else around me is zoned for the 5-acre lots, and then someone wants to come up and put a much higher density project right next to mine as I'm looking off over the rim, I'm going to be upset. It's going to have a substantial effect, potentially, on my investment. I think the town and its zoning, if they're contemplating having higher density next to these larger, more expensive homes, then there needs to be constructive knowledge out there for those people that are building those homes. And we need to tier things down where you have, you know, the larger lots, larger homes, and then it tiers down and it moves away. You can't have a drastic difference right between the two. But, you know, and I say, look, I live in Payson Pines. They're manufactured homes. They're nice homes. And I had people when there was the project behind Home Depot, oh, we don't want that, the traffic. I'm just, you know, I'm sorry. There's times where you just have to ignore some of the complaints, some of the concerns people are having, because we do need to develop this.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our time is up. Let's give all the candidates a big round of applause for being here. We thank each one of you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come in and educate us on what your thoughts are. So on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce for the town of Payson and the Rim Country, it's the Rim Country Chamber of Commerce, so don't forget that. And as the candidates were talking about, you know, we're all part of this community. I live in Star Valley, and I have the privilege of being the mayor there. But we are also a bedroom community of Payson. same with Tonto Basin, all of the whole area around here comes in to support Payson, and Payson supports us. So we're excited about a lot of different things that are going to happen. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming in tonight. Good night.